come yesterday, but we bought it all in big rounds rather than split. So Chris has been out there splitting it today with Ness, who's pretty much had an axe in her hand most of the day. She's been in charge of the kindling, so she's been doing that. I've been stitching all day because I have been desperate to get something finished. And look, I've even still got my stitching today. It's the only thing I've worked on this week, but I'm so pleased with it. I'm so pleased with it. I've got some button news for you. There will be more buttons, but I've made the decision that I'm not going to sell them. And she is a retailer. She has a business selling buttons, huge quantities of beautiful